So Kabir, what is the role of the investment advisor in the world of AI?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, right? Because you hear viewpoints ranging from there's no role to they'll never go away. I think it's a little bit of a nuanced answer because a lot of it depends on segments, right, and who you're serving. And what that translates to is complexity. So I do think that we are looking at a world where segments with simpler financial situations, for sure, the definition of advice and who delivers that advice is going to evolve quite a bit. I don't know that we're going to see as many financial advisors serving that segment as today. And people harken back to robo and say, well, robos didn't last. I actually think this is fundamentally different from robo advisors. We're talking about something very different. We're also talking about generations who interact very differently with screens and machines and everything. With that said, though, I think there's a large part of the investor base which is likely and almost surely going to require some form of human involvement.
Yep.
And so what you're going to see is more and more of what an advisor does and their teams do starting to get enabled by AI. You see a little bit of that and people talk about insights and triggers, but I think what we're going to see is much more fundamental in terms of the way, if you look at all the capabilities that advisors use, ranging from portfolio accounting to CRMs to even the whole onboarding and trading chain. I mean, you're going to see a lot more intelligence and automation built in over there.
Yep, great. Donie, when you think about then the asset management side of the industry, manufacturing, what's going to differentiate asset managers going forward in the AI era if in some ways the intellectual horsepower between buy, hold, and sell may be sort of, even playing field with AI?
Yeah, I think the asset management, quite honestly, is already going through a disruption. Right? It's just a longer disruption. So if you think of the product mix, you think of the rise of like ETFs as an example. No asset manager is now earning the 40 plus margins that they were getting. Right? It's just not happening, and that impacts the advisors too. Right? If you have an advisor that's just chasing an index, well, that they can't survive. Right? And if you look at their portfolios, more and more of them are in things like ETFs, and that's a lower BIP. Right? So that's been happening to asset managers before, and they've had to deal with this. I think the technology, in terms of like the robo-advisors when they came out, had some impact. Not complete impact, because we've learned that you can't run your whole portfolio with the existing tech of robo-advisors. Now you start looking at AI, and that again will have an impact, but I think it's an acceleration. Right? It's faster. It will happen faster than like the ETFs is going on for long. Who knows, when we'll see the next wrap up. But I do believe the artificial intelligence and Gen AI will have a bigger impact on the product side, right? And it's not necessarily it can help the advisor in terms of creating the strategy for the end client or so forth. But I think actually the intellect around creating the products will become more commoditized, right?
Interesting.
As opposed to high-priced fund managers and so forth, and internal strategists, etc.
Yep.
The machine will be able to do a lot of that.
Yep.
Take the SMA business, for example. Okay, the fund manager potentially can create the base separately managed account, but you can use a Gen AI now based on different customer customization and create all those sleeves on it. You don't need a fund manager to do that anymore.
Yep.
Right? So, who knows when, but I think you'll see a lot less fund manager per fund, right? And more of an orchestration of multiple funds that are actually being co-advised by, in quote, AI.
That's great. When you guys both think about the great mass affluent market that has never really been addressed by wealth management, do you think this is the time when the mass affluent market really becomes opened up for kind of wealth and asset management in a big way via AI?
So let me take that maybe two ways. I say it will help, but I actually would go, I know we're talking AI, I would go to the technology of tokenization and blockchain, right? That will have potentially a bigger impact on the product side that typically was only held in ultra high net worth individuals or sovereign funds. It's like private equity. We talk about private equity as an asset class. It's only available to less than 1% of the population, right? So with the technologies like tokenization, blockchain, and with AI, you can start to bring those down to an entry point that actually can be given to a retail investor. And that will have a big impact.
And then when you think about the service side from advisory, like how does that change for the mass affluent market?
Yeah, no, I tend to think that one of the biggest challenges, well, one of the biggest opportunities, as we know, with mass affluent is just the sheer scale, right? And you only truly have favorable economics as a provider if you can get to a certain degree of scale, right? Which is why so many have tried but never really become that big. I think the ability to scale service, right? Because you are talking about a segment with not a very complicated finances, is absolutely ripe. It has all the characteristics to be served by a more intelligent capability as opposed to human advice.
So Kabir, in 5 years, financial services will
be available to more people than we could ever have imagined.
Awesome. So Donie, in 5 years, financial services will.
I would actually say the same, but it will be available to more segments of the population that are unbanked today. It's going to be accessibility that just doesn't exist today to a huge segment of the population. It's going to open up to them.